Cathy Engelbert is Caitlin Clark's sports agent. That's right. Cathy Engelbert is Caitlin Clark's sports agent. Nafisa Collier, great speech, great number of views. And WNBA players need to learn to pivot. It's going to be the most critical. We'll talk about those areas and more on the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. Cathy Engelbert is Caitlin Clark's sports agent, understanding that Caitlin Clark agent is XL Sports. Jeff Swartz is the owner of XL Sports. But Cathy Engelbert is Caitlin Clark's sports agent. And the rubber kind of hit the road when people got highly upset regarding Caitlin Clark and the WNBA platform that Caitlin Clark has been on for the last 2 years, and that's coming prior to Iowa. And when you look at it collectively, you look at what Cathy has done for Caitlin, the NFL, going in there to State Farm, going in there to Gatorade. All these deals have been cut and made by Cathy because she comes from Duluth. You're one of the big 4 accounting firms in America, and you have a lot of relationships. Now, for Cathy Engelbert, I'll tell you this. Cathy Engelbert is better suited for the NFL than she is for the WNBA. I'll repeat. Cathy Engelbert is better suited for the NFL than she is for the WNBA. The WNBA will never see the value of Cathy Engelbert. The dollar amount that they're talking about is too small. The amount of money the players make is too small. There's not enough compensation that comes out. So what Cathy Engelbert did was a personal favor that really backfired, because basically in business, favoritism and trying to help somebody, it doesn't really work unless the individuals want to help themselves. So they've basically rejected. I think Roger Goodell would find a tremendous benefit for the NFL owners, for the quarterbacks, for the high-sponsored athletes that are engaged in NFL. Cathy Engelbert could take the NFL player and understand how to put a valuation on that player, and also the team, and understand how to move the NFL, which they're searching for new ways and being very creative with revenue. That's why Cathy's better. Cathy's more suited for Tom Brady, right? She's more suited for that professional athlete today that's in the NFL and is making quite a bit of money. And as you know, quarterbacks like a Dak Prescott, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what Cathy does is on a different level. And I want to explain it as a sports agent. See, in the NFL, you have 32 teams. And everybody has an agent that represents them. Now, here's a difference with the Dallas Cowboys. When you're with the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the league. And this is where I'm going with Caitlin Clark as Cathy's agent. Caitlin Clark does not have to be the best player in the league to make the most money. When you're the quarterback of the Cowboys, you're guaranteed you're going to be in broadcasting. As you're going to leave the desk of being the quarterback on the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to move into the booth, as you've seen Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, and Roger Staubach. When you're the quarterback, as Lamar Jackson is with the Baltimore Ravens, okay, your endorsements are not going to be as high as you were as you're working with the Dallas Cowboys. And let me explain the difference. For Lamar Jackson, you may have somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million a year in revenue, and it could be more. These are numbers. I want to give comparisons, and then I'll bring it back to Caitlin Clark and what Cathy Engelbert has done on the WNBA platform. Basically, the $5 million is what Lamar Jackson's going to get from his revenue from endorsement. Dak Prescott's over there at $60 to $70 million a year, because the Dallas Cowboys are the number one franchise, origined as America's team, and their quarterbacks get bigger endorsements. Indiana Fever are the flagship. I repeat, they're the flagship of the WNBA. The Indiana Fever have the most fans, okay? And you have Caitlin Clark, whose sports agent is Cathy Engelbert, right? And that's why with Caitlin, it's not about who, what, when, where, and why, because Cathy's already bridged her relationships to that. And with that $75 million, the the cost of what she's doing is more than $75 million, but she's got the partners to buy in on it. And that's why Caitlin makes so much money, because Cathy Engelbert is her sports agent. Now, she could do this with Major League Baseball, right? She can go in and because she's going to the number one thing that Cathy Engelbert's going to understand in the NFL is the salary cap. Okay, she's going to understand the salary cap very good, right? And she's going to understand what revenue players can make. It's too hard. The WNBA players are more in the personal image than revenue. And this is something that's a problem. And that's where Caitlin, now, I want to put another stamp on Caitlin, because I want people to understand. Caitlin is running about a 15 to 20x multiple on the player and the fan and the viewership, right? Because people are confused with viewership. What I mean by a 10 to 20x multiple, if you get 1,000 fans to watch a player in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark has 20,000 people watching. Okay, and the number one thing is the fans that Caitlin have and the demographic that nobody's pointing to, because the demographic of fans that Caitlin has brought to the WNBA are not females, they're males. And so what has happened is the male eye is looking at the game from a different perspective, and the male eye wants to see Caitlin. Now, here's where it gets crucial, right? Because with Caitlin, you're selling a lot of product. You're selling a lot of Gatorade. You're going to sell a lot of shoes. The opposite end, when the WNBA players get viewership, they're not selling as much revenue, right? The revenue's not there. Okay, so here's the point I'm going here, is when you look at the WNBA and they're going to say, we have a lot of views. Well, that's not the story, folks. That doesn't tell the story you have a view, because somebody could watch for, 2 minutes, turn it off and go, okay, I thought I was watching this. I'm not. I turn it off. The actual retention time, okay, and here's where the WNBA players have got to really find out, and they've got to look at the numbers correctly, because, folks, I do know the numbers, right? I mean, for every 100,000, okay, fans that a WNBA players get, Caitlin Clark is getting 2 million, right? That's a huge disparity in the number. And what comes along that is the rate of return on the advertisement dollar per view of why, is those of you who are on YouTube, and they utilize the same matrix and same formation to put it in place, is the fact that how long can you retain the audience? How long do you retain the audience? What does that mean? When the WNBA shows Caitlin Clark playing, and Caitlin didn't even play and retained an audience, right? When they show her playing, that audience is going to have a longer watch time, which means they're going to watch more commercials. And the demographics and the age, which I don't think the WNBA players understand, for Caitlin Clark is about 45 to 75, 80, right? So how did Caitlin Clark capture the heart of America in a demographic age group, a multicultural environment of 45 to 80 years old? That's what we're talking about. And the WNBA players are saying, we got views. Well, the views don't really matter, folks. The views are kind of a number that's there. It's not about your view count. It's about how long can you retain the audience that's watching. And I think that's where State Farm is viewing it. That's where Gatorade's viewing it. That's where Nike views it. And the WNBA players are going to have to learn to pivot. They're going to have to learn